Now moving on to a shocking story. A dog owner has been mauled to death by her two registered XL bullies in the latest tragedy involving the controversial banned breed. A forensic tent was put up outside her home in Hornchurch in East London while investigations continue. And the ban on XL bullies came into force at the end of last year. One pressure group says XL bullies were responsible for a massive 44% of all dog attacks in 2023. So what do we do about this situation? Well, I'm now delighted to say I'm joined by Hannah Molloy, who's the head of dog behaviour in the Parliamentary Group for Dog Welfare. Thank you so much for joining us. Another week, another bad news story about XL bullies. We hear constantly they're banned at the moment. What's the situation at the moment? What would you like to see happen to tackle this situation? It just seems to happen all the time.
Well, it's a really difficult one because currently we have a huge number of dogs who've been banned under the scheme, many of them who have gone for exemption and they aren't 100% sure whether they in fact even are XL bullies. Obviously the breed was defined last year very quickly by DEFRA before they put the ban in place, and now naturally we're starting to see a bit of a fallout of these dogs who realistically have got huge welfare needs. They need to be outside, they need to be off lead in spaces, and they can't be. And so we have lots of dogs who are quite frustrated, who aren't getting the exercise necessarily that they need at home. And I think there's a chance that these instances will get worse before they get better. So we need a much broader spectrum approach to dealing with responsible dog ownership, I think, in the UK. I think what we need to see is a new agency formed by the government, a bit like the DVLA.
Yeah.
We had the dog licensing agency and every dog owner was charged, say, £100. We would have £1.2 billion to spend on enforcement and education. And this is across the board in, other countries such as Europe. You need to be able to pass a test to own a dog. You need to be able to understand the basics of how to understand and read dog body language, how to handle dogs. And that is something I think we need to have as mandatory in this country.
Do you think that is a price that responsible dog owners will be prepared to pay? I mean, it seems like they'd be getting penalised for irresponsible owners. How would that go down with the vast majority of owners, would you believe?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's a starting place for negotiation, really. Obviously, there's lots of people, I think, who would have that fee subsidised by charity groups. I think that's really important. But nevertheless, we pay, maybe £50 a month for dog insurance, and that's to cover things like aggression and our veterinary bills. So I don't think it's an unreasonable place to start when it comes to protecting our country. Dog attacks, it was estimated to cost the NHS £777 million per year. That was before this spate of XL bully attacks. So I think it's well worth the money.
So that's a responsible plan for the future. In the short term, what do we do about XL bullies? Because we have the ban in place, we have a public muzzle policy in place. It don't seem to be working, especially when these attacks, as in Hornchurch, are taking place within the family home.
Absolutely. And we knew that was already happening, actually. Most of the dog attacks that we see in the data are happening at home. So what I would suggest for you, if you're a little bit concerned about it at home, is we can start to teach our dog some impulse control. So make sure that you're teaching your dog things like sit and wait to open the front door, making sure that you're keeping your dog away from exciting trigger environments like when people come home or are going out into the back garden, and obviously making sure that you're giving your dog adequate exercise is going to be paramount.
Does that work, though, with XL bullies? The data is shocking. 70% of all deaths to other dogs is this breed. 50% of all attacks on humans and other dogs. There is a common factor with this breed.
To be honest with you, that data is not solid. So that data was pulled together from reports from Facebook and social media. So actually the data that exists around dangerous dog bites really needs solidifying. And we're asking for a dog bite data collection form to be designed and distributed so that we can really act on that data effectively. Bull breeds are big and interested in being outside and playing with toys. They're weighty dogs, and of course, if triggered, they can do a lot of damage. But they, like every other dog, can have their basic welfare needs met by a really good and responsible owner.
Thanks for joining us, Hannah Molloy, who's the head of dog behaviour in the Parliamentary Group for Dog Welfare. Thanks for your time. Pleasure.